Okay, Learning Flame for Fuenteovejuna. Also, preface, I'm like using the pronunciation guide that's at the bottom of the script, but I fear as if I might still mess up. I wish I spoke Spanish. I do not. So, sorry about that. Okay, first question. How might this performance differ when watched as a performance versus read as a script? How could this help us understand Taylor's work on the archive and the repertoire? So this was the first play that or in this class that we've just read and not watched, which was different and cool. And this works, it's completely different from the watching experience because you're not watching someone else's interpretation. You're watching, reading, interpreting your own. So I'm gonna imagine Alfonso and Esteban and everyone else as my own interpretation that comes from my own experiences and interactions with people that remind me of them, and I'm going to picture them differently, obviously, than someone else would. And so this creates a different play than someone else would have because it's just the base text. I'm not watching the whole entire performance, which would make up the repertoire. And so we can derive from that the archive is the bare evidence that is interpreted by every single person differently. And I witnessed that through this awesome play. Number 2, how does this play inspire me? Discuss in light of Dolan's work on utopian performatives. This play I really liked, and when I read the synopsis in in the assignment, I was like, oh, there's some dark stuff in here, and there was, but it was really cool to see a play that is from so long ago and obviously operates with those moral systems instead of the ones we have today. But it was really cool to see such strong female characters, and so that was really inspiring, Jacinta and I'm about to say her name, Laurentia. Yeah, that's a pretty way to say it. They're really inspiring and had such strong wills. There's the speech that Laurentia makes in the first act where she talks about the paradoxes that women have, and there's no way to if you dress good and well for yourself, you're a tart, and then if you dress all bundled up, you're a shrew, and etc. And that was really inspiring and wonderful to see those ideals play out in an old-timey society and see them ultimately succeed and have justice was really cool and gives me hope for the future and hope for, you see a lot of depressing and crazy stories that make you fearful of those issues, especially with sexual assault. Seeing those women do that there inspires me and hopes for the future. And I think, especially going back to the archive and the repertoire, if I saw someone perform that speech, I feel that would be so powerful and create those utopian performatives. If I saw someone give that performance of Laurentia in person, which would be really cool. So, number 3, what are the power dynamics of the characters? Who holds the most power and how is it used? This one is very particularly applicable to this play because you have, overall power, you have Ferdinand and Isabella, the king and queen, who ultimately have power over the master, power of the commander, power of the villagers. There's a definite hierarchy. You have Ferdinand and Isabella at the top. They're portrayed as very merciful, very good king and queen, and then below them you have the master guy whose name I don't remember right now. He is below them and he's in charge of the town of Fuenteovejuna. And then you have the commander, who obviously is the most abusive of his power and his status, more than probably anyone else in the play. He uses his power to abuse women and abuse the people that he's supposed to be leading and like guiding. Like he, at the beginning, even when like Alfonso and Esteban offer all these gifts and they're like humble offerings, he's like, thanks, that's great, now I'm gonna go commit heinous crimes in my gratitude. Like he holds this power over the people because of his status and rank, and then especially the women have no real power in any of that relationship. They need to be like, the women talk about needing to be with a man. When Jacinta is running away, like she has to find someone to protect her, and she finds Mengo, and that obviously doesn't do much because the commander has so much power. And so we see these go back and forth, and then when the villagers obviously rise up to a mob, they have the power there because they have the numbers, and so they create that kind of revolutionary aspects, and those power dynamics shift. And then obviously the commander has no power when he is dead. So yeah. Okay, where in the script or production can I find Christ-like examples? What can I learn from these examples in the play about these Christ-like attributes in my own life? Yes, Laurentiia is such a Christ-like example of remaining true to your values, and especially with chastity. Like it would have been a lot easier to give in to the commander's wishes, especially as the show goes on and you see the consequences of that, like how much effort is going in and how many people in her lives are getting hurt because of she's remaining true. But she still is so convicted in her choices and her devotion to, one, her values fundamentally, two, like her like frondoso, she's a loyal wife, and like even though she like at the beginning it takes her a little while to come around to like being in love with him, but once she does, like she's a loyal wife, and she is so, I just admire her determination and perseverance through those hardships and that awful, like, fearful feeling of being sexually assaulted and raped. Like, to go through that fear and still remain so true to who you are, I think it's very Christ-like, and she is a fundamental example from this, and I can take that into my own life and try and be a little bit more like her. Which character do I relate to most or less? This is number 5. How might relating to this character shape my identity and goals? I would say, like at first, in first impression, I would say Laurentiia, because of her obvious disgust and resistance to the commander. But truthfully, like, I don't know, like, you never know what you're gonna do in those situations until you're there. Like, I truly do not know how I would handle that, and I'm not sure if I would be as strong as Laurentiia is, and so I really hope that I can be, and I really relate to her, like, spark and drive and passion. I heavily relate to those and those convictions, but those convictions in the face of danger, I'm not sure if I live up to that, which is why she's a Christ-like example to me. So I also can relate to Prodosco being such a feeling person. I love him in this play. He's so, I mean, obviously he loves her so much, but he also accepts her for her faults and he loves her and protects her, and he feels things very strongly, which I feel like marriages were not that vibe back in that time. They were very arranged and for the good of the match. And the dowry, he doesn't even want the dowry. It's beautiful. He's just like a little lover boy, and so I can relate to his passion and his vulnerability, I think, a lot. I lost the second part of the question. How might relating to this character shape my identity and goals? For Laurentiia, I want to be convicted when I'm being tested. That doesn't really like happen, especially to extent that it happens in the play. So, but I want to be that person. Overall, really love this play. Really interesting. At the beginning, I was like, oh, this is kind of scary. Am I gonna like this? The answer is yes, I really do. There's so much theming wise to do, and I'm at 10 minutes, so thank you.